Hey class, let's take a look at exercises 211 and 212. They're related to one another. They're based off of the same data set. These relate to, again, utilizing the high-low method to come up with that mixed cost formula. That mixed cost formula, remember, there's a variable component to it and a fixed component to it. Salon Saralina is trying to get a grasp on the utilities costs and how to better predict them. They have gathered the following information for the prior fiscal year, so you can see the monthly data, the utility cost per month, and then the variable that they have picked or that the advisor has picked, they believe drives up the utilities cost the most is the amount of salon hours. So based off of this, they want us to calculate utilizing the high-low method to calculate the mixed cost formula. And then in exercise 212, when we've calculated that formula, they want us to estimate the cost at 160 hours. So I have, again, reproduced the mixed cost form or the data here in the table, in the Excel file. You can see the monthly data there. As we go through this, remember the first thing we have to do, we have to pick the high-low months. So based off of the data set given, we use the independent variable to pick the high and the low. The independent variable in this case would usually be the non-monetary amount, in this case, salon hours open. So as I look through this data set, it's clear the high month is July, 305 salon hours. The associated utility cost that month was $2,750. The low month, it looks like, if I'm looking here, looks like it is March of 177 salon hours, utility cost of $1,700. So my high month again is July, my low month is March. That's step one. Step two, calculating the slope of our line. In this case, our variable costs per unit using the high-low months, the differences between the cost each month. In this case, the difference in utilities cost divided by the difference in hours. Remember the high month, we had a cost of $2,750. The low month, we had the cost of $1,700. So we take the difference of that divided by the difference in hours. The high month, we had 305 salon hours. The low month, we had 177 hours. The difference there, we divide into the difference in utility costs. We get a variable cost per unit of $8.20. And I should mention that is per salon hour. Again, what does that number represent? That represents that every salon hour I incur, I am estimating that I'm going to incur utilities costs of roughly $8.20. So if I incur 1 hour, $8.20, 2 hours, $16.40, so on and so on, in variable utility costs. But again, the assumption is it is based off of this data set only, and this data set is predictive, it is informative, it is a representation of utilization going forward. So we've determined our variable cost per unit, our slope of the line, if you will. The next step, calculate the total fixed cost, the F in our C equals Vx plus F equation. So if we look at our equation, we're going to plug in everything that we know at this point. So we take one of the points, the high month or the low month. Let's just take the high month for simplicity's sake. That was 305 hours. So that's our X. Our Y or our C is 2750. So if we plug in for C, 2,750 utility costs equals our V, which we just calculated, is the $8.20 per salon hour, multiplied by our X, which is the activity at the high point, 305 salon hours. And we're solving for F, so we don't know what F is. When we do the 820 times 305, we get 2501. So at this point, our formula is 2750 equals 2501 plus F. So if I want to isolate for F, I'm going to subtract out 2501 from both sides of the equation. my fixed cost ends up being $249. Again, if we equate this back to the equation of a line, this would represent our y-intercept, where the line intersects at 0 with the x-axis. This means that even activity level of 0, so 0 salon hours, I am still going to incur utilities costs of $249. So that is our total fixed costs in our utilities cost equation. So our formula, as you can see, C equals $8.20 times X plus $249. The second part to this, or the second question, exercise 212, wanted us to figure out, okay, utilizing that cost equation, which we just calculated, the C equals 820X plus 249, how much do we expect to pay if we incur 160 hours, salon hours? So all we're going to do is we're going to plug in 160 hours for the variable X into this cost equation. So that's what I've done here. So 820 times 160 hours, that's in brackets. So you're going to do that first. Gets us to this point. I want to mention something here. Remember, this is a mixed cost formula. The assumption is that utilities, in this case, exhibits both a variable characteristic or has variable properties and fixed properties. What we've done here is we've essentially broken down the cost into those components. What does this number represent? That 1,312, that is the total variable cost related to this utility cost. So of the final answer, which is 1,561, so that's what we would expect to pay in total utility costs at an activity of 160 salon hours. Of that $1,561, based off of our cost formula, 1,312 of it is variable, and then as we've already determined, 249 of it is fixed. Now, why is that level of detail important? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, depending on the user, the advisor, whatever the case is. But at the very least, it does give you some insight into how does that cost perform. Is it more variable? Is there more fixed to it? Is it a more balanced? In this case, you can clearly tell that of the 1561, it is vastly variable. I mean, we can even do a quick calculation here. Variable percentage, fixed percentage. So of that total cost of 1561, how much of it is variable? 1312 divided by 1561. We're looking at roughly 84% of the total cost is considered variable. And then therefore the other, 16% or so is going to be fixed. Now, remember, this whole course is about decision making, helping you, if you're a business owner or if you're an advisor to a business owner, helping them, giving them the information they need to make better decisions. So why is this information going to enable that ability to make better decisions? Well, if I know that this cost exhibits this kind of behavior and it's mostly variable, that can be a good thing, or at least that can provide strategic opportunities for the business owner. If this is a cost they are trying to drive down, let's say total utilities is a large portion of their overall costs. If I know it's mostly variable, then I have more control over incurring that cost. I can try to lower utility consumption through utilizing more energy efficient appliances or product or assets or machinery and equipment, whatever the case is. I can look at ways to try to mitigate that cost, and I'll know that I have more control over it. If the opposite were true, let's say it was the other way around and it was like 16% variable and 84% fixed. Well, in that case, no matter what I do, the cost is relatively going to stay the same because it is fixed in nature. I don't have as much control over that cost if it is leaning more towards fixed. I have more cost certainty, and we'll talk about that, or you should have seen that in the chapter. But as far as controlling the cost, if it leans much more fixed, I have less control. If it leans much more variable, I have a lot more control to try to mitigate that cost. Now, again, this is just one piece to the puzzle. You wouldn't want to make all your operational decisions based off of one metric or one figure, in this case, utility costs. Because if you think of it from an operation standpoint, this is a salon. If they're trying to mitigate utility costs, that might affect their services that they provide, the products that they provide, and it could hurt their top line of their income statement and overall financial performance. But it does give the advisor, it does give the business owner more information to make those strategic decisions to see if this is an area we want to improve on, how does it fit into the overall scope of the business? And again, that is really the heart of this course in general, giving the decision makers enough information where they can make those decisions and look at their business holistically and make the decisions that are going to be best for their overall financial performance.